Hey, listeners. I wanted to talk to you about something. Do you ever have a feeling where you're just going nowhere in life? My question to you is, what would happen if you changed the trajectory of your life? Imagine what your life would be like if you started knocking down your goals, you gained more confidence, and you understood your gifts and how to use them. Listen, how you feel right now, you're not alone. Millions of people feel like this, but you don't have to stay stuck in these feelings. This is where Versatile Success's signature program, Lost and Found, will help you. The Lost and Found program is a 30-day online program that'll change the trajectory of your life. Don't just take my word for it. Joaquin says, I've always struggled with trying to figure out who I am, what my strengths are, and what my weaknesses are. This program helped me unlock my superpowers, and by knowing that, gave me confidence in things I wanted to achieve in myself. So again, I ask you, what would happen if you changed the trajectory of your life? Find out by clicking the link on our Facebook page and enroll today. Oh, and make sure you enter the coupon code LostandFound-Infiltrate to receive $200 off the program just because you're a listener of our podcast.
This episode of Infiltrate Radio Podcast is brought to you by our amazing sponsors. Podbean is an easy and powerful way to start a podcast. Everything you need for a successful podcast. No difficult technology to learn. For our listeners only, go to podbean.com/infiltrate radio and get your first month of podcast hosting absolutely free. Again, that link is podbean.com/infiltrate radio. The show is also brought to you by Akioka Pet Boutique. Use the link posted on our Facebook page with the link to the show and use code InfiltrateRadio25 at checkout, and you save 25% on any purchase from Akioka Pet Boutique. All your pet supplies, toys, etc. So again, go to the link on our Facebook page, click on it, and use code InfiltrateRadio25 at checkout and save 25% on absolutely any purchase. In addition, we'll post the links to any products we talk about during the show, such as the drinks we're enjoying or any other items we mentioned. So if you really want to help us out and support the show and keep us going, click on any of those links we post, and the show gets a portion of the purchases that you make. So you get drinks, you get products, you help to keep the show going, and we get to not be living out on the street. So again, just click on any of the links in on any of our posts that typically go to Amazon or other affiliates. So thank you guys for all your support, and here's another episode.
Infiltrate Radio.
All right, and I believe we are now live on the Facebooks. So you guys, you're listening to Infiltrate Radio. This is now episode number 60, and I'm Patrick Joanne.
I'm Bizzle Chance.
And on the show today, we've got Cody Hunt, or K. Cody Hunt. Is that accurate? Am I getting an accurate?
Hey, Cody Hunt. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on the show, man.
Dude, thank you for having me. I'm really excited. I've watched a couple episodes, and you got a cool setup going on here.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and it looks like you got some. Are you in a basement or a dungeon or something there? Where are you?
No, the dungeon's under construction. Actually,
Okay.
I'm in a barn. Actually, my dad's place until I move. He's got this
cool.
barn with all this stuff. Like literally, my stepmom's sister just moved in, so like everything she owns is this way. I'm staring down like 2 couches, a love seat, a refrigerator. Like it feels like it's my house, but like one of those hipster New York deconstructed houses, but like in West,
Right.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, it's like
but it's a cool place.
purposefully made to look industrial. And
Yeah.
So let me ask you something. Are those the Microsoft Surface headphones? Is that what those are? What do you got?
No, actually, these are. I'm a big Sony man myself. I worked at
Sony.
Best Buy for a while, and
All right.
you know, between shifts, I'd be like pilfering through, and I think they're the 1000s, but I just love the quality on these. They're real good.
Excellent.
What do y'all have?
Yeah, Biz is sporting the Bob Marley thing behind him. I think he's got air.
Are we talking like earphones? I have Beats in the closet behind me, but I don't know. Between like the phone, the Mac, like the show, like everything, it's easier just to have the AirPods, because then I can kind of connect between the Mac and the phone, like depending on what I'm doing. So like, you know,
Is it like legit easier like model to model that way? Is there like that much like, I guess,
Are you serious right
brand,
now? Are you
whatever?
serious right now, Cody? You're asking me if Apple has made a seamless process between an iPhone, a Mac, and AirPods? Of course they have, man.
It's perfect.
Is it okay?
Perfect.
I don't want to start a fight here. I'm not looking to go up in flames or anything, but like, is it actually a seamless process, or they marketed a seamless process? Is it
No,
just
honestly,
like their hipster, like is it
so
really,
like
though?
there is a small issue that like when I have my phone like unlocked and I'm using the headphones for the Mac, if I try to do like an Instagram live or something like that, it'll take the headphones and connect it to the iPhone, which is normally great, except then I lose complete audio for you guys. So like that part is the only limitation I've had, but it's actually pretty seamless. Everything hands off right to one another. Like it's,
So
I didn't think I would
All
like
right.
the Mac as much as I did, but it's worth $1,500, man.
I
Don't do
honestly,
this to me. I got enough people trying to pressure me right now.
I've
Sorry.
been an Apple guy for a long time too, and I was when they came out with the AirPods, right? AirPods, is that what they're called, right?
Yeah, AirPods. Yeah.
Um, their regular headphones don't fit in my ears. Like when I try
Same,
and
same.
use them, they just
Huh.
so I couldn't go with the I ended up going with like the Samsung Buds or whatever. And those like kind of stick in your ear, and so those were a lot better. But these
Well,
are,
have you
are
tried
pieces of
the
shit,
AirPod
Sony.
Pro?
the what's that?
The second gen AirPods have like
No,
a little
'cause
gummed piece that like fits into your ear to hold. Because I have the same issue. My ear hole on my left side is like a little bit big, so
I've
it
heard
like
you have
like
big ear holes. Yeah.
but it it tends to try to fall out there, and it's
Right.
like it's rough, to say the
Well,
least.
so I can't justify spending money on like new headphones. That the Samsung ones work perfectly. I can use them when I'm running or whatever, and that's it is what it is. They haven't broken yet, so I'm trying to wear them out. But they're standing the test of time. So
You're like, I'm wearing these
I-
to the gym every day until I can get a new pair.
But I heard
Patrick, I usually have the opposite problem.
Do you?
I go through, yeah, like those extended warranties, they were made for me, and like that's not just because I had to pedal them for 2 years, but like every single pair of headphones I break, and if it weren't for them, I'd be like $5,000 in debt compared to where I'm at right now. So
Nice.
they're not for everyone, but like I'm certainly giving them a reason to keep on making. So
Well, but I do have this, these Sony ones that I use just for the podcast and for kind of monitoring and that sort of thing. They're pieces of shit, like $20 or whatever.
Yeah, Patrick's being modest. He's got like a pair of $5,000 headphones, like, probably on the floor right above his head that are like wood grained and like
Well, I have
the most
those,
gorgeous
but
headphones
those
I've
are
ever seen.
that was something I got like as a a sponsored thing for music. So that's a little different. Those I use for like for actual mixing and mastering and stuff like that. But for the podcast here, I mean, sometimes I'm drinking whiskey and
Yeah,
stuff.
what is
I can't be fooling around with
right.
with expensive.
What's the
ass
name of
headphones.
the thing that you do? Like I always tell people like, oh yeah, he like works for the Grammys. He's a Grammy nominated artist, but you're always like, stop telling people that. Like
So,
what
yeah,
is
no.
it that you're actually a part of in that?
So technically, here's what it is. So I was part of the Recording Academy up until this past year,
Right.
when some things went down, and it's yeah, we'll leave that for a later date when
Please.
things come to wherever that end point is. But the Recording Academy is the group that basically puts together the Grammys, and there's members that are part of that. Basically, you have to be a working musician or in the field in some sort, not necessarily a musician, but in the music industry. So you can be owner of a record label and not know how to play music yourself, and you're a part of
Right.
it, which is kind of part of where the problem is coming into play here. Is that there's if you've seen any of the nonsense this year with artists and people kind of boycotting the Grammys this year in particular, it's because there's a lot of shenanigans that people are thinking, which, I mean, I was under no guise that it was a very I don't want to say well organized because the show itself is organized, but like there's a lot of money and politics in it. You know what I'm saying? So like the people that have money, there was no expectation that it was a clean, process and everyone's acting with artistic integrity when they go to vote. But you have like the regular Recording Academy people, and then you have voting members that actually vote on the people that end up getting nominations and all that. And I was a voting member for a while, and this past year that has stopped. I'm not Grammy nominated, so that's where the thing is. So there's with the process of, are you a musician, Cody? I heard you were a musician.
What did you tell him, Vince? What did you tell him? Also, Patrick, not yet. You're not Grammy nominated. Not yet. Yeah. I am a novice guitarist. I plunk stuff out. I'm finally learning my chords. I finally start, dude. That thing where, like, you know, what the image we put ourselves on social media is always a little bit inflated, and what people see of like those little like 3 measure things I put on like Instagram and TikTok, that's like my best take out of 50, man.
Gotcha.
And like I can't lie to you
that's
about
everyone's
that.
social media though. That's everyone is their 50th take.
That's fair.
That's
fair.
Here's what I was getting at, basically, just to finish my thought on that. So there's being on the ballot to be nominated, which that I have been several times with some of my music. So if you get the most votes on that, in that category on that initial ballot, then you become Grammy nominated, and there are only 4 in each category typically that move to that nominated status. That is something to be kind of, you know, celebrated and what have you. The problem is that a lot of the process now is done by committees, so a lot of those categories are not necessarily done by the voting members. It's like they consider the votes, but in the end, it's the committees.
It's their choice,
that decide who moves on to that phase, and then from there, those people that are nominated, or those musicians and bands and whatever that are nominated, the one who gets the most votes, or the committee decides, moves on to win the Grammy. So that's where a lot of these artists, like even Justin Bieber, was complaining about being put into particular category, like into pop, versus where he thought that album should be in R&B, was like, okay, well, who's making that decision?
I think the world decided that Bieber was pop. I don't think he gets to decide that.
But there was a lot of I think there was a lot of shenanigans. So anyway, let's move on to our drinks real quick before we go any further here with the discussion. So Cody, we usually let the guests talk first about what they've got. So I saw you double fisting something over there. What do you got?
Yeah.
What do you got?
Got a little concoction. So I haven't been eating super well today, and like I pulled a pretty intense shift, so I need a little bit of a boost. All right. So right now we got those little Starbucks Frappuccino coffee drink things. It's vanilla taste.
All right.
Just gonna put that right in there. Can you see it?
Look at that barista pour you just did.
Yeah.
Is that the original?
One of my many jobs.
Flavored? Is it mocha? What do you got?
Vanilla, which I guess is the original.
Yeah,
I think it's
the
like
complexion looked a little light to be anything but vanilla. I think their originals were coffee and mocha, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I mean, you know better than I would. I just drink I'm like, okay, is black coffee, is it gonna get me through the day? Give me the bean juice. Let's go. I don't know much. And then we got some Quest salted caramel protein powder.
Okay.
Trying to get your
disclaimer
gains in. Yeah.
We're trying, man. We'll get there eventually.
Hey, man, I could use some of that.
Oh, look at this.
Hey, looks like you're doing pretty well, dude.
Are you kidding me?
You got the tone though. You got the tone down.
I'll tell you why when we get to my drink section. I'll tell you why I look so toned.
Okay.
Ripped. Biz is ripped.
I have never tried doing this before. This could be the best. In theory, it could be the best thing ever. It could be crap. Either way, I'm going to drink the whole thing. I promise.
Yeah,
that's phenomenal that we're about to find out on the show. I love when people try drinks they've never had before, and then they just like want to.
See, I think that's a good mix though. You got your caffeine, right? You got your protein.
Yeah.
So like a post-workout.
And then even the vanilla and caramel is probably a perfect like blend. I want to taste it. I want to try it so bad.
Yeah, you got to make one of these.
That's a good.
Yeah.
I like the Quest too. So Quest bars in particular, I like quite a bit. Their macros.
Yeah, I don't think I've had Quest before. I've had quite a few of the protein and whey sort of stuff like that, but I don't think I've ever had the brand Quest before.
A lot of them just shove a bunch of like salt and sugar into it too. So
right.
Quest in particular has a pretty good like blend of they don't put too much garbage in it. But so what do you got, Biz? What do you got for us?
So I'm not drinking anything because it's the holy month of Ramadan for those that don't know. So eating and drinking is not something that most Muslims do during the daylight hours for, this 29 to 30 day stretch, which is actually why I look so toned, is because I've dropped all of my water weight, and my body, it has never been more detoxed.
Yeah.
So I'm looking ripped, but I'm pushing probably about 15 pounds less than I usually am. So it's one of those movie magic things. I look great, but I'm probably super unhealthy right now.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, whatever you got to do. I'm thinking
Yeah.
about taking that on too, not for Ramadan, just to
Right. Just for the benefits of detoxing the body. It has a lot of benefits.
go back to my pre-COVID body, beach body is what I used to call it, Cody. My beach body.
Patrick, I think I've known you almost 10 years, and I can't say that you've ever had a beach body.
So here's what I went with. So I made some iced tea, and you saw me kind of chugging on it there. But I made it with this: Twinings English breakfast. Delicious in the morning,
Twinings.
delicious in the evening. Twinings.
In our unsponsored sponsored section, Twinings.
It's good. It's what I usually make. I've said this before too. I usually make a nice tea mix, and then I'll add some other stuff to it, and I like it just unsweetened, just straight up.
Yeah, we're all about the concoctions on Infiltrate Radio Podcast.
Yeah,
tell us what kind of drinks you like to make at infiltrateradiopodcast@gmail.com.
I like how you throw the email in there, Biz. That was nice.
Look, we're all
Try to do it.
concoctions
Try to do
too.
it. Team Instinct. Let's go.
Hell yeah, Team Instinct. I mean, like, okay, so when the whole thing came out, I was at a theater in Naples, New York, and
Wait. Before you get into whatever story you're about to tell here, we're going to go ahead and stop the live feed, because I know it's something that might be interesting to some people, and we'll continue it on the actual podcast. So to anyone listening, watching right now on Facebook, go to our YouTube page, Infiltrate Radio Podcast, or download the episodes on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, all the like. Subscribe, tell your friends, share, and email us, like Biz said, at infiltrateradiopodcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions or concerns, or you want to just yell at us via email. And we'll continue this here in just a second, and we'll see you on the actual podcast.
See you on the airwaves, people.
All right, so I stopped the live stream, Cody. So now we're just in recorded mode, and I find I take offense, Biz. I've got the perfect beach bod.
Right.
For what?
Honestly, I'll be honest with you though. Like, to our listeners' defense, I've never seen Patrick without a shirt on. I think I saw you maybe in a beater one time when we were working a film. You like took your button up off because you were like, "I'm not gonna sweat in this shit." Like, so I think I might have seen you in a beater one time, but that was like 10 years ago when I very, very first met you.
What was I gonna say? I saw on Facebook these. It's like a man, not a man. I guess you'd call it a mankini, like a. What is that called?
One of those,
Speedo?
like,
No.
Oh,
it's just a Speedo, but it looks like Daisy Dukes.
Okay.
For guys. Now, I don't know why it was being advertised to me on Facebook, but I was very seriously contemplating.
Are you telling me that you got swindled into a TikTok made me buy it 10 years before TikTok existed?
No, I refuse to get into the TikTok. I'm too old for that shit, Biz. I'm full.
Wait, Patrick,
there's
wait.
there's a
Do you have a
common
link
trend.
to this?
Oh, I'm sending it to you, Cody. Don't you worry.
Please, thank you.
there's a
I gotta get
common-
ready for summer.
There's a common trend called TikTok made me buy it, where if people talk about stuff enough on TikTok, whether the product is garbage or amazing, people flood to buy it. So that's what I was referencing, not TikTok itself. Just you saw it on Facebook. You're like, I gotta have this.
Yeah. All right, so
But
Cody,
yeah,
continue
to
your
the
story.
Pokemon Go instance. Yeah, I would say just a little preface. The Team Instinct is one of the 3 teams in the mobile game Pokemon Go. That's what we're referencing here. Cody threw on a hat for those of you that are only joining us through the podcast.
What
So
is
yeah,
this?
tell me about this. So I'm guessing we're talking July 7th, 2016, like when it came out, because that is the day it came out. I'm a little of a
to the
nerd,
date. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, definitely. Yeah.
This is in reference
actually-
to the hat, by the way. Is that what that?
Yeah,
Hell
the
yeah,
hat
yeah.
he's
So we
wearing is Team Instinct,
We got my
the
man
yellow team.
Zapdos on here.
There's
Yeah, I've seen
three
it.
teams in Pokemon to kind of like break up the fan base so that there is a little bit more of like the competitive edge. There's the yellow team, the blue team, the red team. I think respectively named like Mystic, Instinct,
Valor is the red
and
team.
Valor. Valor's the red one. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was on July 7th, 2016. I was at a small theater in Naples doing a show, and I think at midnight I was like, oh god, I've got to download it. But I was like holed up in my room at like this little homestay they were having me at. They were like super generous to me. And I'm just looking at the names. I'm like, okay, wait, which one can I do? Like, I love like electric, fire, and ice are my three favorite types. This is such a hard decision.
Yep.
I look at the names and I think about, I had just graduated from college that past June, and one of the things that, excuse me, oh my gosh, one of the things that my acting professor, one of the biggest lessons I learned was, no matter how much you think, no matter how much self-doubt you may have, no matter how difficult the situation may be, no matter how much you might not know, follow your instinct, because 90% of the time it's going to be right. The other 10% of the time, you're going to learn something really important. And so to me, that just like, boom, team
it told you. Yep.
Yep. And
So
so I
I'm
get to
also
theater
Team
the next day.
Instinct.
Hell yeah.
And,
Well,
I made the mistake of like, so July 7th came about, and I knew that Pokemon Go was going to come out. And just to give a little context, it's an AR game based on the super overly popular game Pokemon. So like you have to be active to play the game. You can't just sit in your house and play it. Until the pandemic, they did alter some things for the pandemic, so you don't have to go out. But the game was mostly meant to get you out, get you walking, to get you like either on foot, on a bike, getting like miles under your belt every day. There's like eggs you can hatch. There's a lot of things like that. So my story was similar. It was like 11:58 like p.m. and I'm realizing it's the 6th of July. It's about to flip over to the 7th. I was like, oh my God, I almost just went to bed without downloading this. So I waited a couple minutes. I download it. And of course, I didn't know anything about AR games back then. So I'm sitting there like spinning my character around in circles. Like, why is nothing happening? There's nothing around. What am I supposed to be doing? Like, so I ended up staying up all night, like Googling like the inner workings of how Pokemon Go will work as a game. And yeah, the next day I was still working at the call center at the time. The next day I go to work and I get a text from my wife. She's like, did you end up going to work this morning, or did you quit your job to become a Pokemon master? She knew all too well that I had probably spent like the better half of the night and I should have been sleeping for work, like, you know, try to play this stupid game all night.
I tried when that game first came out. I tried to play it. I'm not a video game person. I just I can't do it. I'll maybe, like, if there's a quick game like a Tetris or like a, you know, Street Fighter style thing where like I could play for 5 minutes and then go back to drinking.
Little to no investment is what you want. You don't want to have to like pay dividends into this game.
I have 10 minutes
or get addicted to it.
Yeah. Well, I found people get addicted to. I just don't. That doesn't seem to happen with me. I don't know. You have it on your phone right now?
It shows the start date as July 7th, 2016. So I was just trying to show that I'm one of the longer probably players of the world here, but I won't flex on you guys.
Let me ask you this: how many games do you have on your phone? Because that's something actually that's interesting to me. I don't think I have a single game on my phone.
So for me, I have one paid game. I paid $5 for a game recently that I had been playing a lot, and like I finally was like, you know, let's get rid of the ads and just pay the $4.99 and play it. Mm-hmm. But I have like these bouts. Like I spend a lot of time on social media. I'm a very social and interactive person, but there comes a time where either in my life or what's happening in the social media world clash so hard that I'm like, I can't be on social media. And therefore, because the habit of being on my phone happens all the time, there's only so many things you can watch on your phone. So then I kind of retort to playing games for a couple of weeks to a couple of months, and then I jump back into the social media world. So I do have probably like between like 8 or 9 different games that are all kind of like mindless, just tap, 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 tap sort of games. I don't think I have any that are really like, you know, like I was saying, like you got to like kind of like build up and do all that other than Pokemon Go. Cause even Pokemon Go, I don't even really play it so much anymore because it's one of those things that it feels like it requires such an investment into it that if I open it, well, now I got to check on all my eggs. I got to heal all my Pokemon. I got to check all the, it's like a 45-minute process just to open the app and see what's going on, that it's like, it's a bit much now. So I do check on it every now and again, but when it comes to games, they end up having that little cloud with the arrow on them that they've like offloaded off my phone or whatever, because I play them so infrequently. So what about you?
It does that for you?
What kind of, yeah, on an iPhone it does. You need to get into Apple. If you're not into Apple, Cody, you're drastically missing out in life.
He's trying to push you, Cody, to
just I love you, but dude.
So let's get into what you're doing. So what do you got going on, Cody? What's happening?
So probably like one of the most exciting things that's ever happened to me. I am going to be in a movie called Turn Up the Night. I'm going to be playing the lead guitarist Derek Carver, and it's it's my first feature. It's my first project that's been shot in Buffalo, and when I saw the character description, this has only happened to me like a handful of times, and I think this was easily the most significant one. But I was thinking, oh, I'm having trouble finding the line between this character and myself. And of course, part of that comes from the fact that I only have like a blurb on my email. Like, I don't know everything about them.
Right.
But everything they're just like, sometimes when I read a character description, it's like, 5'6",
dark hair.
Yeah. Or like, or someone like persistent, loves his brother, something like that, cares about his community, or like, which are like, good things. It's like, oh yeah, I can find something to latch onto. I can find some kind of commonality there. But these ones, I just thought, oh wait, this is how this relates to my life right now and in my past. And just, it's one of those times when like the details sort of like start flowing, because sometimes for me, I have a little bit of trouble when it comes to that relation, and I think some of it depends on where I'm at in my life, how well I'm taking care of myself, how I'm feeling about making art at the time, because it is one of those things that like
it
has those peaks and valleys to it.
Definitely. I agree. So for those of you that don't know, just what's that, Cody? Turn Up the Night is an independent feature film being shot in Buffalo, New York. In fact, I think we've had quite a few of the cast members actually show up on the show. The director is Melody Ruring, who was a guest just some weeks ago. And it was written and produced by Rick Mossy, who again was another one of our guests, I think just a couple weeks before Melody. If you don't know much about the film, again, it's just an independent film shot in Buffalo, New York. And our man Cody here is going to play the lead of the film. And it is I would say, as far as the local film scene goes, it is a bit of a star-studded cast, just because almost anyone who's anyone in the Western New York film scene is kind of making some sort of an appearance in this film in one way, shape, or form.
There's this one dude. He really likes Apple. He's a little weird. I like him. I think he's all right.
Is it Biz LaChance?
That's his name, Biz LaChance. He's also in it too, and may have been part of my like, oh wait, I wish I could be in this, because yeah.
So I know you've had if I'm not mistaken, you've led like short films before, but you said this is your first feature. Is this?
Yeah.
So if I'm not mistaken, you were in the feature film Drunk Bus, but did you have any lines, or were you just like background? Or
I was background. I was actually so there was that big audition in Rochester, and I got to improv with the directors a little bit, and I think I was up for, they had me for a couple people. I think basically they were saying, hey, good job, we want you to be, I think it was the drunk guy at the party,
Drunk Boy, I think was his name.
Drunk Boy. And I was really excited. But I realized at the time, my day job was the Rev on tour. It was called Merry Ground at the time. Basically what we would do is we would go from Auburn, New York, to a school somewhere in the state, do a show for the kids there, go to another school somewhere else in the state, and come back to Auburn. So it wasn't necessarily a 9 to 5. And it
this was a traveling theater sort of thing you were doing?
Yeah. It was based, like we had a home base in Auburn every night. So I was only an hour away from Rochester, but I wouldn't always know what time I'd be back, and there's variables.
Yeah.
And because there were only like 14 actors who were all touring and just very I don't want to say skeleton crew, because it wasn't that we didn't have enough people. It was that we had just enough people.
Right.
Which should add to the fun of it. But because of that, it wasn't something where I could be like, oh, hey, I can't come in on Wednesday. And I think they said, you got to be there at 5. I'm like, okay, so wait, what if, okay, so we finished our second show. We pack up a set. We
the calculations that go into
dude, I went full math brain. I'm thinking, okay,
who put this thing together? Can we start from the beginning, because I have no idea what you guys are talking
about. Which one?
Sorry.
Which one are we talking about?
So you're
you're
talking about the theater. So what is this theater? You were traveling around from school to school, putting on plays. Is that what was happening for students?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it
called
the same play, or was it different plays, or what was the?
It depended on the grade. It depended on the day. So they're called the Rev on Tour. They do plays ranging from pre-K to high school. Different grade levels have different plays. They do different sets of plays at different times of the year.
Is this?
I've done.
You said this is just in Auburn, New York, so just upstate New York thing, or is there a?
Is it part of like a bigger family of kind of like acting troupe or traveling acting things like this, or is this a one of a kind, like independent, locally owned thing?
It's independent, locally owned. The entire thing grew out of Auburn, and it's grown a lot actually. They have contracts with over 100 school districts.
Wow.
And I think we go like as far down south as like Olean, so right to the Pennsylvania border. We go to Grand Island in Buffalo. We go up to Watertown. We go up to as close as you can get to the Adirondacks.
And so this is when you're doing this. This is one play that you're doing, and you're going from school to school, doing it as an acting troupe, or is this you're going to the school and the students there are participating in it?
Great question. Mostly us acting. There's usually like 3 or 4 actors per play.
I got you.
4 different plays are being done at a time. But sometimes we do get the kids involved to certain degrees. My favorite one that we did was our 4th grade show. It's called The Keeper's Voice, and basically it's they try and tie into the New York State learning curriculum, because the one about the Haudenosaunee, also known as the Iroquois. And for a while it was, okay, the actors are gonna play the Iroquois and teach the kids about them. But at the same time, we do have contracts with the Onondaga schools, and they said, hey, we appreciate the fact that you are, you've really done your research, you know so much about this. But at the same time, everyone was white, and there weren't any actors of Haudenosaunee descent. And they said, while we appreciate the fact you're trying to spread our story and really respect our culture, at the same time, we'd appreciate it if you weren't playing us. If there was a way that you could change it around, we'd really appreciate that. And they did a really good job of trying to of listening and trying to work through that. So what they did was they looked into, okay, what else do 4th graders learn about? And a big topic for 4th grade social studies is suffrage. And they're thinking, okay, how can we make this all work together? And it turns out there's this really awesome woman named Matilda Jocelyn Gage. And she was one of the earliest suffragettes. She was a contemporary of Susan B. Anthony, of Lucretia Mott, of everyone at the Senate Convention. But she lived among the Haudenosaunee. She was literally adopted by the Haudenosaunee, and the Haudenosaunee have a matriarchal society. It's men who are the leaders of each nation, of each clan, but they're also governed and kept in checks and balances by the clan mothers, the matriarchs of each one. And the matriarchs, they say, okay, you screwed up, you're out. Like, they have the absolute power there. And so they found a way to
pretty generically accurate, actually, for most
and
the women
again,
have the final say, I think, in most situations. But so,
and they found a way to try and tie all these concepts together, but even and also use it to teach kids about multiculturalism, about equity, about using your voice to fight for the things you believe in, and to help people who need it, but also to make sure that you don't take agency away from anybody else. And I know that's like, oh my God, what's this play even about? But my favorite thing about this play was that the kids were actors alongside us. We didn't have the touring actors play the Haudenosaunee. I played two different ones. I played a very plucky reporter who was an exposition vehicle, and this really stern, chauvinistic, idiotic, D-bag professor who's still a friend. And they're like, okay, Forrest, like, figure it out, man. Figure it out. Women are people.
And this was written by who? Like with you guys in conjunction with them? Was that what? Or it was something that already existed as a play?
So they had adapted a script that they had previously used, and it was written by a local playwright that was primarily Haudenosaunee related. And then they massaged it, they added the other stuff. But the point I keep on circling around and going on tangents before getting to, I apologize for that, by the way.
No,
it gets
it's
me
okay.
too much. Please let me know. Is that instead of having the touring actors play the Haudenosaunee, what we did was, before the show, we would go to each classroom. We'd give the kids a workshop where we tell them, hey, here's what the play's about. Here are the concepts. Here are the people you're going to meet. And we have a fourth character, the Haudenosaunee. And guess who's going to play the Haudenosaunee? And they always say, you. And I'm like, no, you. So we divide the entire fourth grade into 5 groups, and they'd sit around these like little campfires we made. And so we'd have the kids vote on, okay, who are your leaders? These are the clan mothers. And they'd say, well, and the jerk professor would be like, well, women are inferior to men. That's just the way things are. And Matilda would be like, Horace, how could you say that? I'm your friend. Do you know how that makes me feel? Wise people of the Haudenosaunee, clan mothers of the Haudenosaunee, as a society who's always treated people equally, how would you feel if you lived in a world where women were inferior to men? And we literally hear these fourth graders say their thoughts on it. And there were days when I wanted to cry, and days where they said things that were more eloquent than anything I could ever put together. And it was a show that made me so excited to work with kids and gave me so much hope for the world that when I was like, okay, I chose the right career. I know why I'm doing this.
Can I ask you, do you prefer working with children over, like, not like do you prefer working with kids over adults, but do you tend to find that working with children is easier than working with adults, or do you find that there's more problems working with young kids because you have to kind of watch how you're impressioning on them, while you're working and getting frustrated at things working and not working? Like, I wanted to ask you this before, but I was like, I'll wait for the podcast to ask him, because it's probably a pretty fair question, considering some people like really love working with kids, some people really don't. Some people have like a natural knack for it. One of our former guests, James Abrams, is probably one of the best directors I've ever seen work with children before, and he's like, oh, I wouldn't classify that as a strong suit of mine. I can't believe you said that. So I'm just wondering, like, what's your preference in that?
It's a really good question, and I'd say it depends on where I'm at the time, like everything I ever say. But also, right. I guess it's how immersed you are, because I remember like the first couple of weeks there were some close calls, because like I listened to very hard rock. I listened to Gerard Way screaming. Can I say it on here? Are we allowed to?
Yeah, you're good.
Trying to say some fuck, like, that's like what I like want to roll up in my room. Just like, hey, Rick, I'm at school. Could you like Could you try like a slow song or something? Oh yeah, sure, man, you got it. And and there's this one time, and like and you learn how to like react to kids and to not say the things you say in the van or like at your apartment or when you're getting drunk with your buddies. Um, and it helps knowing that kids are just as smart as adults, but they just don't have as much life experience.
Right. Exactly. Right.
But at the same time, those filters are never perfect. I remember this one time I was in a class. I think I was dividing them actually into the nations because it was a weird one. And I'm like, okay, so what's going to happen is I'm going to put my hand up. I'm going to make a number. I'm going to point to you. So if I give you a 1, you're with Seneca. If I give you a 2, you're the KU. and but and sometimes there are these cool teachers that are like, we almost had you, but it's at the same time, Yeah.
Did you work with kids before that? Like, how did you get into this theater thing? Was it more the acting that kind of like drew you towards it, or was it were you already working with kids in some fashion, or what ended up like? How did you get into that of all things? You know what I mean?
I had never worked with kids. I didn't even think I liked kids.
Didn't
even
think
though
I
like
liked kids.
You technically
I feel that
technically
to
were
a
a kid,
molecular level of my body. Like, and I have.
I'm still a kid, man.
Yeah.
I never want to grow up. I want to take care of myself and do the right thing, but I never want to like
Peter
grow
Pan
up
syndrome.
in the sense of it.
So it was more
mildly.
Basically,
Shadow syndrome.
It was more the
acting
acting part of it than anything else, huh?
Yeah.
So what got you into acting? Were you like a performer when you were a kid too?
A tiny bit. So I remember I was one of those kids who just like loved books and was just like always had my head in them, and I just loved anything with a story to it. And when I was in kindergarten, we went to Memorial Art Gallery when we went to NAS to see a play version of a book we'd read. And I think I'd like always been like playing Power Rangers with my friends on the playground. And I was like, okay, so we're gonna start off. Turns out the Blue Ranger's actually evil, and then the Red Ranger, and I'll be the Red Ranger. The Red Ranger dies and then comes back as a ghost, but no one can see him. But everyone's like, we just want to say it's morphin time. And
you're like, absolutely not. We need to reimagine the story. I've had a dream about it. We need to make it a reality.
We need objectives and given circumstances and blocking. And
7-year-olds yelling at people on the playground.
I was so much to anyone who was like in kindergarten, 2nd grade. I'm so sorry for being like that. But thank you for hearing me, and thank you for being a good friend to me. And we went to see a play, and I see him like, oh wait, they're like, the thing I read is happening in front of me, and they're doing that. And then you tell me this is their job. I don't know what I want to. I didn't know what I want to be when I grow up until I saw. I was like, oh, that's what I want to be. I just love getting into stories, and I get obsessed with stories. I'm still obsessed with the manga I've been reading since I was in 4th grade. One Piece, best story ever. And the more and more I thought about it, I was like, I just want to make good stories and make people feel things and experience that with other people who also like that and sharing that passion with them.
I think that's a big part I like too, is making people feel emotions through bringing them along on a journey that they necessarily haven't gone through in their real life. You know what I mean? Like me and my wife talk about this a lot, that like certain people grow up where tangible human beings that they know, flesh and bone people that they can touch, are their role models. And I was like, that's a thing, because not that I didn't have role models, but like everyone that I aspired to be like or be, influenced by were like now being an adult and knowing the interworkings of their lives. I don't even want to say some of these people's names because they're like, they're kind of shitty human beings now. But, when you're a kid and you just see that, you very much relate to, wow, this gets me, like, or wow, this feels good to be on this family vacation when I live with just my mom, or, you know what I mean? Like it brings you on this journey and makes you feel feelings that you don't necessarily normally feel in your average or day-to-day life, because average day-to-day life is boring and movies and shit is not usually, you know what I mean?
That just made me feel sad for you, Biz.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
made me
pity
and our
party.
listeners depressed now about the state of your younger
Hey,
life.
if you're feeling sad
have
for
any
me and
heroes.
my well-being, go ahead and give me a follow on Instagram at the Biz Show. I've gone viral a handful of times on TikTok as well.
He's trying to make up for his shortcomings by Instagram likes and follows.
I mean, he couldn't go to the beach, but he has the beach body at the very least.
Right. At the end of Ramadan, he'll be at bodybuilding stages across the country.
That's right.
tour.
You already
He's got
know.
the cut down.
You guys
Yeah.
already know, man. That's
Yeah.
what a friend of mine recently actually got COVID. Glad that he's okay. But he lost like 15 pounds. I was like, what you have to do is the first couple days you're feeling good, you need to eat right. Then you need to hit the gym, because I swear to God, you will bounce back and have an amazing body after you just lost all that COVID weight. You know what I'm saying?
So Cody, after the touring theater thing, what brought you into, because you started doing film and stuff. You said this is your first feature, but you did other things before that on film, right? So what brought you into that world after doing the theater? Because that's a whole different I was going to say ball of wax, but whole different thing, because I've done some theater stuff, and there's a lot of you have to memorize everything. You're doing it live, so the possibility of kind of improvising a little bit while you're on stage is there. There's a lot more body acting, I guess you can say, with it, versus like a film acting where it's a lot more like your face doing the acting and your inflection and that sort of thing. And even just when you're on stage, you're mic'd, but you're also having to project and do that sort of thing. Like, what got you into the film part of it? Like, did that give you some love for just the acting itself, and then the natural progression was to go to film, or what was the transition?
So it's messy and blurry, like everything I do. Basically, I think I had always been more in, even though theater was the first time I got a chance to act, most of my exposure to stories came from film and TV shows and stuff. And I think to a degree that's just a virtue of the time I grew up in, because we just have more of that. But there was always something about, I guess, the intimacy of it, just like the little details and just that whole thing. And when I was in college, it was really hard for me to do. I wouldn't say necessarily use my body, but to try and play to the back row, to try and have that, I guess, like that metacognition of, okay, I need to play to the entire audience. It's a skill that I did start to learn a bit more about, and something that I appreciate having a bit more understanding of, but it wasn't something that came naturally to me. Because for a long time, whenever I thought of acting, I thought, okay, it's just two people like having a conversation like we are now. We're focusing on the eyes, like the fact that you just nodded, right, like all these little things, and to me, that's what made me excited by it. And I guess my friends and I did like a couple short film things in college. One that we still have to edit, but I always wanted to do it, but I didn't have necessarily opportunities, because at the time I knew theater was where I was going to get better and learn about myself and learn about how to make art. And so I think my second year out of 3 in the theater job, I was just thinking, man, it was a year when I didn't really have much new going on, aside from trading card games. We can get into that later. And I saw a cast listing for an RIT student film, and I thought, okay, this could be fun. And it was another one. I was like, oh wait, this guy works at a retail job, and it's the holidays, and he's going through a time, and I've been through that before, and I feel like I could do this. And so I did that one. I met Biz there. That was a great day.
I was just gonna say that was your first film. I was there. You were leading that. You swung a lead role in your first film. That's impressive.
I got so lucky. By all means, I'm glad
You're so humble. You can't even speak right now.
While I know that my abilities got me the role to a certain point, and the fact like I'm good at formatting a resume and being like, hey, I've done things. I was very lucky that I got that first one, and then that it went well enough, and that I was around cool people, and then that led to another grad student being like, oh, I need an actor. And that person was like, hey, I know someone. And then I just see more and more postings and like, oh yeah, this looks cool. It was just, I just want to have fun and make stuff. And
it's really funny that you say that, because a lot of people look to, I guess, the level of success I've had in like the film and local community, and they're like, Biz, I need to pick your brain. I need to know how you did this, when you did it. I need to know the inner workings of all this. And I commonly tell people actually exactly what you went through. You need to find a local college. You need to get in with them. You need to work a couple of those films. You need to not expect them to pay you, because you're not worth being paid yet, and they're students, they can't pay you. But once you've worked in 3-4 films, as long as they're making good quality products, you can now put together a reel. If you've got a reel, well, that puts you up for commercials, it puts you up for other films, it puts you up for legitimate feature films. And then it really just ties more into how much you want to invest into yourself. Like, how much are you marketing that reel? Are you having an IMDb page? Are you telling people that you're willing to play any role? Are you actually willing to play any role? You know, a lot of those factors then play into how successful you can be from that point on.
Well, let me ask you this. So beyond beyond the acting of it, I found like when I used to do theater and the films I've done and that sort of thing too, there's a certain camaraderie, I think, that's there, especially in the theater world.
Oh yeah,
you go
big
up,
time.
you do a play together, and a lot of times you fuck up. Maybe the audience doesn't realize where you fucked up, but everyone in the play knows exactly where you fucked
Yeah,
up.
casting crew is hating you, but
Yeah. But I mean, it's like this like little family that goes on for a certain period of time, and same goes for a film. And I think that a lot of the love is where you have these people around you that are doing this thing that's kind of, if you think about it, silly, right? You're pretending to
yeah,
do
you're
something,
running
right?
around playing
But
pretend. Yeah, I
but
agree.
you're with a group of people that are doing it along with you, and there are kind of rules to it. And then in the end, it produces this thing that's something that's entertaining to people, and like you said, kind of tells a story. And I think that there's something to that too, that I always loved about. I think even more so than, I mean, it's fun to like see the end product of a film, on screen or whatever, and that sort of thing is fun. But it's more, it wouldn't be as fun if I was watching it, let's say, just by myself, right? When you're watching it with all the cast and crew, and you're like, oh, remember this scene, that scene. It's like, it's this like family moment, and I wonder if that's part of the draw of it initially too, is when you start doing these things, you know what I mean? Like you're networking sort of, but you're not really networking. You're kind of just becoming these, you're making friends along the way, so to speak. And that ends up being networking because they're all, joining these other, films and theater projects and that, and you end up being a part of that, that network. But did you find like a lot of, especially I would imagine the traveling theater thing, you're all shoved in a van or something together, having to stop at the same.
It's real intimate, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah, and we all lived in the same apartment building too, all 14 of us. It was just 2 floors. It was solely for us. And I like one thing that kind of networking you described. That's the only kind of networking I like. Honestly,
Same.
Just because I feel like there's such a well-intentioned and smart drive to like network, but like there's a way to do it without it being artificial and without it being forced, and it's and there, I think there is a trade-off with that as far as speed and profit, and this isn't to knock someone who's into that, because it's either again, if those are the kind of things that you're into, then you do you, and I know that there's gonna be something genuine in there too. It's just I want to meet people who have the same passion that I do, who want to learn, who can teach me something, and that maybe I can teach them something too, and
who can remain humble along the way. I feel like that's a big thing that drew me to you, was that you weren't this dude that, like, because you spent all these years acting and because you could act so well, you weren't this diva on set. You know what I mean? You were like so humble, so chill, and just so like truth be told, Cody, you still to this day have the best reaction to my arm. To Patrick, let me just tell you, on that movie he was talking about, which was a holiday film. He's working retail, and I'm like one of his buddies that works in the place with him.
Yeah.
And before we start filming, I'm telling him like, "Oh, this is my first film back since I got in my accident, the hyperdrive accident."
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Oh, you want to see my skin graft?" Cody's not really paying attention. I'm talking to one of the other actors, and I take my coat off, and I pick up my arm, and I show the girl that's there, and one of the other guys, and Cody literally turns, he's like, "Oh my god, what the hell happened?" Literally just like mortified at the fact that I'm showing him my art. And that was my first experience where someone wasn't like interested in seeing it either. That I was like, "Oh my god, did I just make him feel uncomfortable now?" Like,
You didn't. I was
classic
just.
though.
Did I like legit ask you about it afterward? Because otherwise, I hope I didn't
Yeah.
act like real. Because like
No.
I don't know, like that's just the kind of shit that's interesting, you know? Like, oh wow, I didn't see that coming. Whoa.
Exactly.
So I'm going to take us deep down the rabbit hole here of why
Oh,
you
please do.
stories, okay, Cody? So let me
Sorry.
ask you this. So
Yeah.
so obviously when you go to like act out a character, right, you're reading through a story and you're trying to determine what the what it is behind that character so that you can ultimately convey it, right? And I think that human beings in general, like their stories are super important, which is why movies and music and all the entertainment fields are so impactful and so widespread. Like there's when you start reading a book in your head, you have this version of what's going on. And I think when it gets down to almost like a biological sense in how we interpret the world, right? When you think about this conversation with, I think it was with my girlfriend and my bass player. We were drinking some whiskey and we were talking about God at the time and the what that means, right? And my simplest way of explaining what, and I don't want to say God like the mythical guy, gray beard, that sort of thing, right? I'm talking about the idea of God is the in your brain, what you think of is the ideal version of yourself, and that's God to you because you're constantly striving towards that ideal version of whatever you think it is that you could be the ideal Cody, let's say, or the ideal Patrick, right? And so everything that's wrapped around your daily activities should be, if you're quote unquote following God, right? Striving to be the best version of whatever that ideal version of this meta version of ideal Cody or ideal Patrick. And so we were talking about, let's say a banana, right? When you think about a banana, you're not actually thinking about the cells of the banana and there's the inside and the skin and the this and that of it, right?
How do you eat your food? I always think of that.
Right? What you're thinking of when you think I'm going to eat a banana is the meta version, this almost cartoon, idealized version of a banana in your head, right? And so I think what happens when we read stories is we start to create those things. And what I always find, I've never had an answer that's necessarily satisfactory when I've kind of gone down this idea of thought where when you're reading a piece of literature, right, I have an idea of what probably most people would sort of think of in that idea, right? So when you're reading a script, right, you're going to act it out in a certain way. If you've ever been a part of a film or a play or whatever, every time an actor or an actress plays a particular role, they play it a little bit different, which means that they have this idea of whatever that character is in their head, this meta version of it. And I think that's because the draw of being able to act that out is like physically embodying the meta version of the character in a story. And we all do it, and throughout human history we've been doing this, like acting out plays or acting out movies or whatever. Do you think that the draw to like the story aspect of it, like do you feel that it gives you the ability to, I don't know, communicate, like you're like the appeal of it, the appeal of doing that, right? The appeal of me playing music or writing a song is the ability to accurately convey what's in my head to another human being, I think, and on a mass level, almost if you get a mass, audience to it. But do you feel like that comes from maybe a place of feeling as though you've attempted to convey those things in the past and maybe have felt as though it has not 100% been gotten, if that makes sense? So
Dude,
like
yeah.
so
Yeah.
like I feel as though I've been in my own head and I've had ideas and I've tried to convey what's going on in here to people, and a lot of the time that it doesn't fully I don't envision it being fully fleshed out in their head.
Right.
And so I've gone down these routes of art and music and that sort of thing to attempt to make those ideal or those ideas, like by storytelling, by making a song, these meta versions of the ideas that are in my head. Like, do you feel like maybe you've had misunderstanding, or you feel like you have a desire? Because not everyone wants to be an actor, not everyone wants to be a musician, not everyone wants to be an artist and convey in this meta version. Like when someone paints, they don't paint. I mean, there's realist paintings, but for the most part, they paint like a meta version of whatever the thing is they're trying to convey. Do you feel like you have something you need to express that maybe you're unable to in another way? Or does that make sense? I know the question.
It makes sense. I just want to make sure I'm really giving it the right amount of thought.
Like the motivation behind it, right? Have you ever gotten back to like why that?
Yeah, I guess it's because I don't think you ever reach that. Your concept of God. I like like the higher self. It's something that who you are, how you see yourself, and who you want to be. I think it always changes, and I think that as we learn more about ourselves, we get new things we want to be. We get new perspectives on the people we have been in the past. We learn about ourselves and what we want to be and who we have been every single day. And yeah, I think there is a sense of incompletion and the fact that I haven't been able to show the sum total of who I am to everyone I want to. And I think it's also because I haven't learned the sum totality of everything else everyone else is. And I know that's like,
Okay.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many people, there's so many things, but there are archetypes. I do believe that everyone experiences every emotion, every elemental reaction there is throughout their lives. I've read books on acting where they say, oh yeah, everyone experiences some human emotion by 18. I'm like, and that blew my mind. I'm still not sure if I completely believe that. But I guess.
Wait, to say that again, you said that everyone experiences what by 18?
Every single human emotion by 18.
I don't actually think that that's true.
Right. And I'm not sure either, but at the same time, it's because it's where do you separate emotion and circumstance? But that's like getting into 5 other questions and not fully answering your question. So, but yeah, I think that because I haven't been able to explore all of that, and I'll never get to explore all of it, I've never gotten to learn all of it, and I will never get to learn all of it. That just makes me want to explore and learn more. And I feel like, and I don't want that to come off as like a tragic thing. Cause like I'm an emo kid, trust me, I'm an emo kid, but like I think, for a while that might've been a sad thought to me, but as I keep going, it becomes a fun thing to me. I never run out of things to learn. I never run out of things to be. I never run out of connections to make or ways to think about a relationship or a circumstance. And and also, you know, in the fact that acting lets me show myself to other people, acting also, you know, slight sidebar, because, you know, one of my favorite quotes about acting is that the line between an actor and their character, I don't know if it's verbatim, but it's William H. Macy say it gets blurrier and blurrier and thinner all the time.
Yeah.
But there's always that line. There's always something separating. And just like, you know, I'm not Biz, I'm not Patrick, Patrick's not Biz. There's always something different. And, you know, we've felt, and even if we have felt the same emotions, we felt them in different ways in certain circumstances, but being able to find what's different about that character, and I guess getting able to not quite like sublimate it and like fully become that, but just to unlock a different part of myself and understand that part of myself, and let that help me grow it in, and I guess into that higher self you described. I guess it's the quest, it's the adventure. Yeah.
And I think there's obviously layers to that, right? Because it's such a
Right.
deep thing. What's the motivation for doing what you love? But I'm interested, because I ask that a lot of, like, you know, entrepreneurs, business of entrepreneurs, everyone, you know, what drives you to kind of do the thing that
Fun.
Because not
And I think it's interesting for Cody, because Cody's more of an artistic actor than even some of the actors we've had. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we've had Will Nemi on the show, who's a very like methodic actor. We've had you know, completely spacing on the other actors we've had on the show now, but you know, we've had them, and not many of them. In fact, I think you may actually be our first actor that has a substantial amount of theater experience, and maybe even like you could say like a theater fundamental. You know what I mean? Like, most of the actors I rub elbows with are typically film actors, and they're very much like you know what I mean, like in the mindset of like, when you're thinking about these creative things, it's like you're entertained in your own mind. Like, if you're not careful, you can kind of lose yourself into your own mind. But I've noticed that actors and people that are very entertained with their own mind, they also are the ones that get lost in there and they can't find their way out, and it becomes this self-deprecating sort of situation that you've got to like bounce back from. And you have these highs and lows as actors, as you mentioned, just because of the fact that you're so in your head and so wrapped up in this idea of what you can be or what you are being or how you're conveying. Do people think I'm phony? So to play into like what Patrick's saying, I think that when you've got that mindset, like as an entrepreneur, you're thinking that you're doing something good for people. You're thinking that my service or my product is doing something. And I feel like the acting world is split 50-50. Some of them feel like, you know, what I'm doing matters and it's important, and we'd be nothing in this world without art and entertainment. And then I know people on the other side that are like, it's a job. You know, people ask me to portray something in a certain way and I can, so I do it. They pay me and then I get more jobs. You know what I mean? Like it's not really about the struggling artist for every actor, like it is for a lot of painters and a lot of visual artists and a lot of people that are making music and stuff like that. I feel like the acting world is a lot different in that way.
That's kind of where my question, I guess, lies, is like, so because there's different layers to it, and you can find joy in probably most of it. But what part of it, I guess, is the thing that you keep coming back to, because you did the theater, you did film, and like I said, there's some stuff where the camaraderie is you know, fun and great, and some people do theater primarily, I think, because of that part of it, especially in the theater environment. It's very much like a family. But then, like with the film stuff too, you get to like watch it after the fact and share it, and that, especially nowadays.
And even sometimes during the fact, you can watch it in film, which is completely different than theater.
But is
the
is the drive, like, what do you think you find the most you know, joy during the whole process? You know what I mean? Is it the final product that comes out? Is it the making of it? Is it the memorizing the lines? Is it the camaraderie? Is it the combination of those things? Because, and the reason I asked
good
that,
question, Patrick.
Cody.
Yeah, really good question.
The reason I asked that is because, you know, some people don't like their, let's say, their day job or their whatever they're doing, right? Their job, and there's some of that, like you could be studying and memorizing your script, and that would be very similar to, let's say, working at, I don't know, a desk job and memorizing whatever you got to memorize for this or that. So is the joy
Cell phone plans.
yeah, you know what I mean? I think it's, I don't know if necessarily, is it the actual thing that you're doing the work for that makes, makes those things joyful on the way, or is it the individual? I'm trying to, I guess, narrow that down. And for you personally, what's your favorite part of, like, when you go to make a film, right? What do you find is like the most fun? Or where you're like, this is why I do
Getting
it.
out of my fucking head. Getting out of my fucking head is my favorite thing. When I manage to get out of my fucking head.
But there's
That's
a
'cause
lot. There's a lot that's fun. Yeah, I think that Patrick
Yeah, and
wants to know
that
more,
that
like
is
what, not necessarily what the fun part is, but like what the part is that like that keeps you coming back for more. Because obviously, like, you know what I mean. Most jobs that people
that's what I'm
do that
saying.
aren't like pencil pushing jobs, they find some sort of fun in it, to keep coming back to. But I feel like for someone like you, it's got to be something more than just fun, because you're such a bubbly personality and such a kind and great person in that way, that I feel like you have fun doing everything you do. You're like, oh, I got to clean my room. This is about to be a blast. Like,
let's organize. Yeah, let's make a spreadsheet. Let's go. Yeah. But like, and yes, you're completely right. But for me, it's, I like your closet, my friend. Very nice.
Jeez, lost my tapestry.
For me, oh, good. But for me, that's what I'm saying. Like, getting out of my head, it's the thing that I don't necessarily get with like making a spreadsheet is, well, I do get it. So basically, it's the instinct of it, the fact that I'm just going off of, I've done all this prep work, I've thought so much about it, and it's just a sensation of just letting go, and just act, and just the fulfillment in going on autopilot and be like, okay, these are the choices I'm making. These are the consequences of them. I'm not thinking about them. I'm just doing. And I hope this answers your question, but just that it lets me be in the moment and be spontaneous in a way that nothing else really does. It's every scene is going to be different. Every film, every play is going to be different as far as how much letting go I'm able to do. And I hate watching myself for that reason, because I'm like, you're like 90% there that time, but like, you good on this. But at the same time, I was like, I gotta give myself a break. But like, I think the first time I was like, oh, that's what letting go feels like as an actor, was, I think, a scene in college where I almost let go for that one. We did Macbeth. And I'm not in the theater right now, so no one's dying.
I thought you weren't allowed to say that.
Just in the theater, and also you got, like, I think spit around 3 times, stab a curtain, something like that. I could just, because like a lot of people don't. I'm not sure how many people know this, but like I have dealt with like insane anxiety my entire life. Like I have severe OCD, and there was something about the vulnerability and the honesty that comes from good acting. And I think for me, it was a way to access that. I think it was a way to finally get in touch with all of that. And it was easier said than done. And there are a lot of times when I thought I had it, but, friends would just be like, you're getting there, but like, you got to keep going. And again,
right.
It's not going to happen every time, but there was one time we were working Act 4, Scene 3 in Macbeth, and I was playing Malcolm, the Prince of Scotland, and holy shit, Malcolm talks so much. and I had a composition book just filled every single speech, written out like 10, 20 times. And I was like, got this, we're ready. And we get into rehearsal, and my professor's like, okay, Cody, you prepared too much. You went robot. And I'm like, what? I'm like, but like, I know where I'm going. I'm moving. Like, I know it's like, yeah, but like the thing is, and you have to, and the actor knows what the character doesn't. And you've got to be okay with not knowing. And not knowing is hard for me.
Definitely.
But yeah. But just But there was one night when like we slowed down, we listened, and I was like, oh, this is what it is. And granted, like it was still like it was my first foray into knowing what it was, and I have grown so much past that, and I still have so far to grow past that. But that was the taste, and I was like, oh, this is the feeling you've been chasing your entire life. This is that high you've wanted. This is that sense of self you've wanted. It's
I think especially in like a live performance arena, the moment of being completely
immersed.
I don't want to say vulnerable, but like letting whatever it is that you're performing kind of take over. Like you can't be overly you can't over. Well, I guess you could overperform yourself. But like you can't. I don't know. Like in your mind, if you actually let yourself be completely taken by what the thing is, the piece of art that you're performing on a stage, I think that one, it's difficult to do that without having some self-consciousness about what you're doing up there, and actually letting yourself get into that ends up making the once you stop worrying about how what it is you're doing, and you start embodying what the art that you're trying to
you do the thing,
embody right on stage. That's the feeling that's amazing, and people in the audience I think can feel that when that happens, which is what I think makes like an amazing performance. And as a matter of fact, Cody, I was Donald Bane in Macbeth myself. So
what's up, bro?
Yeah.
You hide in England. I'll hide in England. You hang back.
Yeah. I think one thing I've noticed too is that anytime an actor is tasked with playing someone that's physically still alive right now, you know what I mean? Like the number one that comes to mind is Targan Eaton having to play Elton John. I saw this interview where he was like, so I meet Sir Elton John, and you know what I mean? Like he's like, I'm made to perform for him so that he can critique me. And of course, like my nerves are through the roof, and I start my performance, and he stops me like halfway through, and he's like, hey, you're doing a great job pretending to be me, but like they cast you to play me, not me to be me, you being me, whatever the dialogue was, you have to do this your way because this is your film, you're the actor. So he in turn did that, and from what I've been told, because I haven't actually seen Rocket Man, I've been told that it is a phenomenal performance on his part. So obviously, if you got to play Abraham Lincoln, you're going to make the character your own because you don't know him. You don't have any sort of documented or visual representation of him. So it's like, okay, well, he was probably an eloquent man. He's well-spoken. He did this, he did that. But when you actually can watch 40 years worth of Elton John's career, and then you're like, oh my God, I got cast this, and I've been watching all these videos. Like, how am I going to do this now? Like, you know what I mean? There's like more of a sense of like overwhelming, like, I have to do it this exact way. When in reality, like acting is the exact opposite of that. There's no exact way to do it. And in most cases, you do better when you break the mold and stop trying to fit into this little box that you think that character needs to be in. You know what I mean? It's interesting.
We do. I have, unfortunately, a previous engagement or an engagement I need to, we need to end at this point, Cody, unfortunately.
That's fine.
Or something that came up. But I want to give you the opportunity too to just drop real quick. So the movie that you're currently working on, is there a release date yet for that? I know there was some up in the air as to when that was going to happen, and then where people
based on a couple things, from my understanding, it's being, parts of it are being reshot for just like logistic reasons and stuff like that. So the parts that are being reshot are going to be done this summer. My understanding from when I spoke with the producer and the director is that everything should be finalized and finished up by a year's end, and then we're looking at getting it edited and released, I think, by spring of next year, from what I know. And if, obviously Cody can chime in if he's been in any sort of production meetings or in the loop in any way that they've updated since then. But
that's exactly what I know too.
when I got the last like production packet of what to expect and everything like that, because most of my scenes involved, you know what I mean, some of these reshoots. So I'm kind of like one of the people that like gets to be privy to all this information that, you know, Rick and Melody are throwing together. So it's great. But what about for following you? The film Turn Up the Night can be found on Facebook and Instagram. But what about you, following your journey and any projects that you personally are kicking off yourself?
Yeah. So my Instagram is Cody Hunt, just KCODYHUNT. Twitter's the same. I don't use it very often. I might start using it more. I also stream. I'm trying to work on that too. So
let Twitter die.
Let Twitter die.
Everybody.
I mean, I also like it's like please. Facebook, but like you can do less stuff with it. But
right.
But anyway, I also stream. I started streaming Pokemon trading card game, and I've started streaming some Yu-Gi-Oh, but that game's crazy.
Are we talking Twitch?
I'm just twitch.tv/KCODES16, twitch.tv/KCodes16. I'm also starting a YouTube channel, K_Cody_Hunt, just my name as it appears on the headshot on the site. And the main thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do weekly reactions to new chapters of the Japanese manga One Piece. And what I also want to do is I want to reread it volume by volume each week, and just like go over like, you know, how my perception of the stories changed in 25 years, things that I've 20 years, things I've learned since. And then just like other art analysis, because I also want to I also want to grow as a storyteller and someone who understands stories. And I feel like just like that community, interacting with a community who knows things, and hopefully we can teach each other a little bit. And then my website is kcodyhunt.com. Has not been updated since before the pandemic, but keep an eye out there.
All right.
And those are my plugs.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I do have to go. Keep in mind, everyone, again, subscribe, share, follow Cody there on all of his
stuff. Give us an email for any potential guests, any topics, anything you'd like us to do more of or less of, and that email is infiltrateradiopodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, and thank you guys for tuning in. Next week we've got
illustrious comedian Andrew Rivers.
There we go.
It's also my birthday, so make sure you peep episode April 26th, episode 61 with Andrew Rivers. It will be phenomenal.
We'll light a little candle because you probably won't be able to eat at that point, right? Still.
As soon as the podcast is over, pretty much is when I'll be able to.
Right. Excellent. All right, guys. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you to everyone who continues to listen and download stuff. We really appreciate it. And remember to click on those links so that I don't have to use dried up worms for my driveway as shoelaces. Okay, so I can go out and buy real shoelaces. So thank you
so much. This was so fun.
That one was golden.
That was really good.
All right, thanks Cody for being on, and I'm Patrick Joanne.
I'm Bizzle Jans.
And see you guys freaking next time. Oh, my God.
Infiltrate Radio.